Welcome back to The Juggle is Real. I'm Andryanna, and today's conversation is so timely now that we are in summer, the months of fun and carefree living. And we often hear about stress management, self-care, and wellness, but we don't often spend as much time talking about playfulness and joy and fun and the role that they actually play in our mental health. My guest today is returning to the podcast after a very popular conversation, a while back, but it's, I would say, a top 10 listen to podcast episode. We talked about anxiety, assertiveness, and boundaries with Dr. Kristine Laderoute. Dr. Laderoute is a clinical psychologist, a speaker, and a mental health advocate at Loom Women in Health in Toronto, Ontario, where she supports women through life's challenges with evidence based, compassionate care. And I love that the last time she was on the podcast, we talked about assertiveness and how to identify and ask for what you need. And then after a recent episode, a solo episode that I shared on why women are craving more connection, more joy, and more aliveness right now, Kristine reached out to me and she shared a story that immediately resonated. She shared how during a coaching program that she was in, she realized that what she needed most was not another goal, another project, or another achievement, but what she needed was more fun. And that realization sparked a project called Have More Fun, where she committed to intentionally incorporating small moments of fun into her everyday life. And so in today's conversation, Kristine is back and we are exploring the psychology behind that idea. Why can fun feel so difficult to prioritize? What happens when we spend years and years being the responsible one? And why do so many women feel guilty when it comes to investing our time in things that don't seem productive? I also want to get into what does the research tell us about the importance of joy and playfulness and novelty and friendship and connection when it comes to our overall well-being. So it is summer. We want to talk about social connection and the hidden cost of always putting someone else first, some practical ways to reconnect with yourself if you've lost touch with what genuinely brings you joy. And Dr. Laderoute is here to help us with all of that. So if that sounds good, let's dive in.
This is the Juggle is Real podcast. I hope you feel seen, that you realize your worth, lighten your load, and prioritize your own needs. As we hear from leading experts and well-known faces in the wellness, entrepreneurship, education, and motherhood space, I hope you gain insights, proven practices, and learn actionable tools to help you enjoy the juggle of work, family, and everything in between with a little less stress and a lot more ease, joy, and fun. Most of all, I hope you find what you need to simplify, streamline, and supercharge your own journey of better balance and self-love. Are you with me? Let's get started.
Dr. Kristine Laderoute, yay! Welcome back to The Juggle is Real. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me back. It's so nice to be back.
Oh, it's so nice to see your face on a screen. I have to say, I don't know if you know this. I shared this in the introduction, but you are a returning guest. The last time you were on the podcast, we talked about anxiety, assertiveness, and boundaries, and it really resonated with the listener. I haven't checked exactly right today, but it's like a top 10 episode for The Juggle is Real
Oh, I
as
didn't know that.
most streamed and downloaded episode. So it really has supported so many listeners. So thank you so much for that.
That's amazing. Thank you for telling me that.
Yeah. And then recently you reached out to me because you heard an episode that I shared where I was talking about women. You know, some of us were feeling a little bit emotionally flat and craving more connection and wanting more joy and sort of that aliveness. And it spawned from when I went to a ladies dance evening with Jessie Cruikshank and some of my girlfriends. And it just kind of made me think about like, wow, why don't I do this more? Or why am I not, sort of feeding into that more? And so you reached out with a story that really caught my attention. So can you, just to begin, can you tell us about the course you did with Mel Robbins and how you chose your Have More Fun project? What led you to realize that that was what you needed, in the midst of doing a course like that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you prompted me with your images on Instagram of you dancing. That was so fun to see, and yeah, it kind of just reminded me that, um, yeah, I did this course in 2024. I was feeling at the time just kind of stuck, and um, you remember that COVID term, like languishing, like where you're kind of like you're not totally down and out, but you're also not thriving. You're just kind of like, ugh, like you're just kind of feeling stuck and not kind of feeling how you want to feel. And then I came across this 6-month coaching program done by Mel Robbins called Launch, and it's an online program. And so there's thousands of people around the world doing it, and it was a series of video sessions, like her teaching us different things, and live online sessions with her, as well as course materials. And it was divided across 6 months into three projects. So the first project, we got to pick ourselves, and there was a lot of effort that went, like, from the launch team that went into helping prompt us to figure out like what is going to be our project. So a lot of the course materials, a lot of the video sessions, a lot of the live sessions with Mel were about helping us figure that out. And she kept saying, it doesn't really matter what you pick. Like you just have to pick something. It doesn't really matter what it is. So a lot of people, went in thinking, okay, we're going to do a professional project, right? Like work on something we've been trying to get to that we can't get to, like start writing a book, work on our website. Some people went in with fitness goals that they had, moving their body more. Some people wanted to like kind of declutter their home, like projects that you just kind of can't get to and you want to work on little by little. And I thought that I would also was going in there thinking, okay, like I really want to change up my like do more in my career. And okay, I want to start writing a book too. And like this is gonna be my way to start writing a book. And through the different prompts was realizing like I cannot do any more work. Like I am feeling really stuck. I'm feeling really burnt out, and I can't add like another kind of work task to my plate. And started realizing like what was coming out with me from the prompts was like I kind of was craving more fun, craving more enjoyment, just more happiness, like a bit of lightness. And then that led me to realizing, oh, like I'm on empty, like I'm doing this because I'm depleted. And like I don't have the capacity to do anything else that's work related. And so I think my project needs to be that I need to have more fun because I need to fill my tank. Like my tank's on empty, and I actually like can't do anything else. And so I met myself where I was at. I decided my project's going to be I need to have more fun to fill my tank because I'm depleted and I want to shift out of that feeling and out of stuckness. And the project was you had to work on your project 15 minutes a day, kind of for the first 2 months. And you had to journal every day. Like there were all prompts about like, reminding yourself, what's your why? Why are you doing this project? What did you do? And yeah, you had to structure it in for 15 minutes a day. So for 15 minutes a day, I worked on having fun.
So I've like it's so funny you're even kind of giggling about it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
as you were explaining it, like immediately I'm like, "Oh yeah, I should do that. I should do that." Like so much of what we're doing when we're saying maybe I feel stuck is like we want to improve ourselves or achieve more, be more productive. And I love that you could recognize within yourself that you needed to have more fun in order to fill your tank. Um, and but for you, like you went into this program thinking, well, I'm probably going to have some work related or achieve a new career milestone or somehow like better myself to feel more productive. Why do you think, for yourself and for women, maybe generalizing a bit, why do you think we have so much why do you think it's so challenging to identify having fun as something worth prioritizing?
Yeah, like I think I'm laughing a little bit because even at the time, like you judge it, like I judged myself a bit, right? And I think that we do that, generally speaking, as women. Like if we want something that's not productive, right? Like I thought I'm going to be productive, and and there's this online community and everybody's sharing what they're doing, and I'm like I'm going to share that I'm having fun, and so I think it surprised me, right? But I think why. And keep in mind, like it was hard for me to even arrive at that. Like it took this course with all these prompts to help me even self-reflect that that's really what I needed. So I think it's hard for a lot of women to do that. Number one, because like we're not used to prioritizing ourselves.
Mhm.
And like, what does that mean, prioritizing ourselves? Like, really what it means, like, people kind of speak about that generally, but really what it means is prioritizing our needs. So to prioritize yourself, you first have to recognize, what do I need? And I think we're not very good at recognizing what we need because,
Mhm.
I'm generally speaking here as women, we're often focused, like externally focused, right? Focused on others. What do the people around us need? And then we kind of come last, or we don't get to it, or we don't even know anymore. And so I think that's a bit of it, right? Like that, this idea that we just have to be productive and we don't even know what we need. So how could we even stop to prioritize something like fun if we don't even know that we need it? Which, like, I didn't even know that I needed it.
It's so true. It's so true. And it's interesting too, because as a clinical psychologist, even you yourself, you were saying like you're sort of feeling that sort of like that languishing, and
Yeah.
you're saying things like, I feel stuck. And when you hear, someone say that to you, like, or I just feel like I'm going through the motions, or I don't even know what I enjoy anymore, or just that feeling of being stuck. What do you hear underneath those statements if someone is saying that to you?
Yeah. So as a clinical psychologist, I'm listening for different things when I hear that. The first thing I'm kind of hearing is this like self-disconnect, often, which goes back to what I was just saying about us having this external focus as women. And we're
Mhm.
often not, turning the lens around and looking inward. And what I mean by that is, connecting with ourselves really simply means connecting with, how am I doing? Like, what am I feeling? And what do I need? And so I'm listening for that. A lot of times when women are saying that, they're a bit disconnected from themselves. They don't really know what they're feeling. They don't really know what their need. That hasn't even really occurred to them. And then, kind of to varying degrees, that I'm listening for burnout. Like, that can also contribute to burnout, because if we don't know what we need, then we're not giving it to ourselves. But because we're human, we still need it. Or if we don't know what we're feeling, it doesn't mean we're not feeling it. Like, it just means that our mind is having to kind of block our feelings, contain our feelings. And then our nervous system becomes kind of like this container of, okay, well, there's all this emotional energy and I have to stop this, I have to stop her from feeling this. And then that can lead to burnout. And then another step further, that can also signal um, kind of an emotional shutdown where people don't really feel anything. So because our mind is focused on, okay, you don't have time to feel that, or like, that's painful, don't feel that. Our mind doesn't really distinguish, but this is a nice feeling versus this is a painful feeling. It kind of just goes like, block emotional energy of all kind. And so often people will feel like an emotional kind of numbness, or flatness, or dullness, or like maybe they do feel some pleasure, but it's watered down. And then at a deeper level, I'm listening for things like depression. So there's always different things that I'm looking for, but kind of at the most basic is this like the self disconnect.
It makes so much sense, and even as you're explaining it, it seems like a little bit shocking. Like, how can we not know how we feel, or how can we not know what we need? But for many women, and especially women, as we're entering midlife, and moms, we become so good at being responsible, being the dependable one. And we're managing so much from our households and our careers, our children, our schedules, and we may have aging parents. We could be like sandwiched in, that sandwich generation, all those invisible tasks that go with it. And so I think, at some point, it's just like your body has to, shut off at some
Yeah.
point. And I also feel that many women feel guilty when we're not doing things that are productive, when we're not doing things to support our external world, like you were saying. So maybe speak to us about why we might feel uncomfortable investing time in our own selves, in actually asking ourselves, what do I need, or what would I love, or what could be fun. And is what could that I mean you kind of shared some of these things that can happen to us, but is there a hidden cost to always being that responsible, dependable one?
Oh, for sure. For sure. There's a lot of
I know,
hidden
was that
costs.
I might that might have been like a prompting question there, but
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like, why does it
Yeah.
feel so icky to be like, oh no, like I'm gonna do something for myself, or I'm going to ask
Yeah.
myself, what do I need? Why do we like just immediately go to like, no, 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 like someone must need something from me. I better do something else for someone else.
Yeah. Okay. So kind of again, like thinking like a clinical psychologist, I'm thinking about it always from different levels and different angles. So I'll give you kind of like this more surface level practical perspective, and then kind of like a deeper psychological perspective.
Sure.
So on kind of on the more on the surface, yeah, this I think, and again, like I'm speaking generally, so I get it. It doesn't apply to all people or all women. But generally speaking, I think women are just very competent, right?
Yeah,
We really,
seriously.
we kind of are. We know how to multitask. Like we're good at multitasking. We are good at, generally speaking, like nurturing.
Mhm.
We are responsible. We're thinking ahead. We're planning. And and so we can do it. The tricky part is just because we can do it or we're good at it doesn't mean that like we should be the only one doing it.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of women that I, know and have worked with, and, I'm guilty of this too, are a bit like, we also start to feel like, well, like I kind of like the way I do things better than the way I like other people doing these things.
Mhm.
And so I could ask this other person to do it so I don't have to be so responsible, but then like I'm going to be annoyed because I'm not going to, like, this person's not going to do it fast enough, or they're not going to do it the way I like it. And it's a tough one because if we decide that we are the most responsible one, or we're going to take that responsibility on, the problem is then you end up being responsible for everything, you end up taking it on. So um, on the surface level, it's maybe something to think about, like, are we, just because we're good at it doesn't mean we're the only one who can do it. Just because we like how we do it doesn't mean other ways aren't also acceptable or good
Mhm.
enough. Especially if there's a trade-off for us of not of getting a bit of that break, of feeling like, I always have to be the person doing it. Um, and then a little bit connected to that is, when we're tending towards giving, we're kind of like building that muscle of like, I'm giving, 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 giving. And we almost get out of, like, it's kind of like working out. Like if there's certain muscles you don't work out, they don't grow. Right. And so we almost don't build the muscle of receiving. And so to not be always being productive, not be always being, um, like responsible, we have to also have a bit of that practice with receiving, which I think we sometimes just don't know how to do. Like we've almost gotten out of the practice of doing. Um, so that's kind of like a little add on to the over responsibility thing. And then at a deeper psychological level, I'm going to borrow from a renowned psychologist named Dr. Nancy McWilliams, um, who I was just recently at a workshop that she gave, and she was talking about masochism. And she mentioned that there's kind of a normal degree of masochism in motherhood, right? So she called it like this idea of altruistic self sacrifice.
Mhm.
So if you think about it, right, when you sign up to become a mom, and the truth is true of all parents, like dads too. There's always like a parent child kind of needs trade off, right? Like, okay, my kid has needs, I have needs. Whose needs are getting met in this moment? And often, right, we're going to defer to the kids, and so there is like a degree of self sacrifice that can come with motherhood. That's normal.
Mhm.
And at the same time, for some women, so that could be operating, but then for some women, that could be operating at a more serious level, or a more significant level, where they are kind of, their self-esteem becomes a little bit predicated on suffering, right? So masochism is a little bit about suffering, and it's unconscious, right? Like, so keep in mind when I'm talking about this, I'm not suggesting like we wake up and we're like, how much can I suffer today to show that I'm a good mom?
Sure.
But unconsciously, sometimes there's this level of masochism operating where it's like, oh, like I feel like to be a good mom, like I'm supposed to be suffering, like I'm supposed to be the one doing everything. I'm supposed to be not having time for myself, because I'm supposed to be like, everything is supposed to go into my kids, for example. Um, and then where I think you mentioned about like the guilt or struggling to do fun things is like, well, if unconsciously you're having this idea, and maybe it was modeled for you, like maybe it was modeled for you by other women in your life, that like this is what you do, like you just forget about yourself, you just like let yourself go, you just like are in the service of your family. It just feels normal. And so if that's operating at an unconscious level, that like I'm supposed to be like suffering and working hard and not focusing on myself, then when it does come to this idea of like, well, now let's have fun and let's enjoy, that's where
Mhm.
the guilt would come in, because now if you're not suffering and suffering makes you good, a good mom, well, now if you're having fun, like now it's going to be hard for your unconscious to be like, but am I still good? Am I still a good mom? And I think that's where some of the guilt comes in. Like, am I doing something wrong? Like now, oh, I switched over to focusing on myself right now. Is that okay? And I think that's where women can get into a little bit of guilt, again, generally speaking. And then with guilt, I mean, guilt could be like a whole other podcast episode
Yeah.
on its own. But often the guilt that I see in women is what I would call inappropriate and excessive guilt. So there's different kinds of guilt. Some guilt is appropriate. So like that emotion of guilt is designed, we have it for a reason. So if we hurt someone, if we offend someone, if we actually do something wrong, we want to be able to feel guilty so that we can self-reflect and on our behavior and say, okay, yeah, that wasn't okay. And now I need to like do something to repair with this person. Um, but often, like often when we're talking about women and motherhood and enjoying and having fun, they're not doing anything wrong, but they feel guilty. And so that's where they're often experiencing what I would call inappropriate guilt, meaning like it's not called for. They're not doing anything wrong. Probably most women have done so, tended to all their responsibilities before they even let themselves have fun. I'm sure you did all preparations before you went to that um,
For
that night
sure.
out.
Yeah.
And then a lot of women, when they're feeling this guilt that's inappropriate, that's not called for, they also feel it excessively, like way more guilt than makes sense.
I think
Um,
that's, yeah, very, very true. Very true of so many of us. I've had conversations about, just like martyrdom in motherhood
mhm.
and being, being the martyr. Um, and I
Yeah,
think to some degree we do speak of it in motherhood and with women who, who are, like you're saying, like a little bit masochistic when it comes to like, in order to deserve rest, I must, like, pretty much be at burnout in order to be able to
yeah,
rest, or I have to be so productive. I have to fill like 3 sheets of a to-do list before I can, put my feet up or whatever that might be. And I think, right now the tides are turning when it comes to like hustle culture, a lot of career driven focus, and people are realizing, especially after the pandemic and coming back to work or working from home, there's been a lot of discussions about like, well, do I need to work 60, 70 hours a week in order to be successful? And people are asking themselves these questions. As women, I think we're still a little bit lagging when it comes to identifying our needs and allowing ourselves um, just the pleasure of enjoying fun. And so we do hear a lot about stress and managing our stress. We hear so much about self care, and there's that means so much to different things to different people, and that's a whole other marketing thing unto itself. We hear a lot
yeah.
about wellness, and fitness, but we I don't think there's a lot of conversations about fun for the sake of fun, playfulness, just the
Mhm.
novelty and joy. So, you must have in your project or through the course of your career read research or seen different papers on why experiencing fun matters. I'm sure for mental health, for overall well-being, anything
Yeah.
that is something that you could share with us that might make us feel less guilty about fun.
I'll try. I hope so. Um, So, yeah, there's a stream of psychology called positive psychology.
Mhm.
And positive psychology focuses on like how do we build the good in life and how do we move towards thriving and flourishing. And that's different than traditional psychology, which is more focused on how do we repair the bad, like how do we treat mental illness like reactively. So research from positive psychology has generally named kind of 5 key elements that are essential for psychological well-being, and so that this whole idea of like fun and playfulness will fit into this. And so the way to remember the 5 elements is through this acronym called PERMA, so PERMA. So I'm going to be talking about the PERMA model of psychological well-being. And so the 5 elements are, so P is for positive emotions. So how much, joy, hope, gratitude are you experiencing in your life? E is for engagement, like how engaged and kind of absorbed do you become in activities? R is for relationships, like namely positive relationships. So how connected do you feel in your relationships? How loved and valued do you feel? M is for meaning. So how much sense of meaning and purpose do you have in your life? And then A is for accomplishment. So this idea of, working towards goals and experiencing a sense of mastery around goals. And so these 5 elements of PERMA are found to be essential for moving towards thriving, flourishing, and overall psychological well-being. And then psychological well-being itself, like in, generally speaking in research, has been correlated with many, many health benefits now. So from just, overall improved health to longer lifespan, decreased cardiovascular mortality, decreased sleep problems, decreased burnout, improved self-control, improved self-esteem, improved job performance, improved coping skills. Um, and there was even a research paper, or like a professional statement put out in 2021 by the American Heart Association, that said that there's increasing evidence that psychological well-being, like your level of psychological well-being, um, is likely causally linked to biological processes and behaviors that determine cardiovascular disease. So there's a lot of research that is around, like back to what you were saying about, how do we feel less guilty having fun and being playful and enjoying, is like it's actually benefiting your health. It's benefiting your psychological being. So it's benefiting your mental health, and your psychological well-being, as that increases, is benefiting your physical health. So for overall health, please, like, be playful, find enjoyment.
So first of all, PERMA, I love this acronym. So thank you for sharing that with us because we can come
Yeah.
back to it. Um, and what you're saying, it sounds good. Is like, yeah, do I want to be more well? Do I want cardiovascular disease? No. Do I want to have, more enjoyable? Do I want increased longevity? Of course, of course. Like, who's saying they
Yeah.
don't want these things? You know what I mean? And so I personally have felt this, and I've, been chatting with friends and hearing from listeners. It's just like, you know what, Dr. Laderoute, this sounds great. I love the research on it. It's amazing, but I just don't have the time. Or it's not that I don't want fun in my life. It's just like there's not enough time in a day because I am managing so much and there's too much on my plate. Or maybe okay, as soon as I finish this, or maybe next month I'll make some time for fun. But what I really do love about the program that you took and your project and that experience that you had is that it just kind of showed me that you don't necessarily have to have whole weekend away. I know I shared my dance night
Yeah.
party thing, like it was amazing, but you don't have to do that every day to have
Yeah.
fun, or you don't have to have a major life overhaul. You don't need a nanny or like a babysitter at your disposal. What you did was just committed 15 minutes a day essentially, right? And
Yeah.
so can you share, like, what did you learn from that? And what do you think would maybe surprise the listener about the impact it had on you? Like such a small pocket, we might just kind of like brush it aside and say like, well, I could do something else, but like what did that small pocket show you and what did you learn from that?
Yeah, it showed me that it's doable, first of all, right? And like really 15 minutes a day, like, yeah, you can do that.
Yeah,
um, you can tell yourself that you can't do that, and if you tell yourself that, then you won't. So you can do it. Also, what it showed me was that, so in the 15 minutes itself, I'm obviously experiencing some of the elements of the PERMA model, right? Like I'm experiencing positive emotions, like I'm experiencing engagement in what I'm doing, like I'm enjoying it. But what surprised me is that having that there, like at some point in my day, now I'm also looking forward to getting to my 15 minutes. And
Mhm.
then in that anticipation of the 15 minutes, I'm now experiencing other positive emotions, because I'm now thinking about like, oh, I can't wait till I get to my 15 minutes. And also, like kind of again with the PERMA model, I did feel a sense of accomplishment. So, not necessarily in the stereotypical idea of being productive per se, but like I felt like I made a commitment to myself. I needed fun. I gave myself fun. And I accomplished that. And so this is another element of the PERMA model, right? Like I set a goal, I achieved it, I did it. Um, and it really boosted my energy. Like there was a lot about it. Like it actually really surprised me as well, because I think a big takeaway I had in general from launch is that, sometimes we have these goals and we kind of think of them really big, like as a big general idea, like, ugh, like I have to have fun. Okay, like in general, like what is that, right? Like, kind of like you just said, do I need to go away? Like, do I need to book a trip? Do I need to like do all this? And when we just kind of leave it as this big menacing idea, nothing happens. Like we actually avoid it, right? Because now it just feels like a big thing. It's too much. But what launch showed me is that you can have an idea, but then you break it down into small, doable steps. And now suddenly it becomes doable, and it doesn't have to be complicated. Like it can be very, very simple. Like that doesn't like, it's stuff. It's not like I left my house like for 15 minutes to have fun. Like I did stuff in my house. Yeah. So it's really is actually doable. But you have to do it. You have to decide that you're going to do it.
Yeah, 100%. I want to talk about social connection, but before we get to that part, like just in like carving out small pockets, like I'm just trying to think of like maybe you can give us some ideas of how we can think of fun in a short burst. Like are there some things that you like and everyone's different. Fun means different things to every different person, but like how did you approach it so that you were like, okay, like I can do this and I'm going to spend my 15 minutes engaging in this activity or doing this or having fun in this way? Because I think a lot of times like we are just like emotionally feeling flat or drained or just exhausted. And so the idea of like, okay, well, now I have to think of something fun to do. Like, oh, like that just feels like a lot? So it's like, how did you approach it in a way that
Yeah.
could feel easy enough that if you're going to, you know, really like be accountable to yourself and give yourself a small pocket, how can you make it work and like decide on what you're going to do? I know a lot of high
Sure.
achievers are like, well, like I need the exact blueprint because I can't have fun unless I know exactly what I need to do?
Yeah. Okay. So maybe there's like, a couple different blueprints or ways to approach it, right? One is that you could have like a larger like goal, let's say, and then you're breaking it down into like your 15 minutes a day. So I don't know. Like my larger goal was, I felt like in COVID, I like completely lost touch with like how to dress. Like
Sure.
prior to COVID, I felt more like I took pride in like dressing professionally, going to work. And then I just felt like over so many years of being in COVID, working from home, like I didn't feel like myself anymore. I didn't, like I just felt disconnected from like, how do I want to present myself clothing wise, wardrobe wise, fashion wise. And it was just also like fashion is fun. And for me, so my bigger goal was like, how do I like kind of reconnect with like a sense of style, but like by 15 minutes a day. So like, it could be that your 15 minutes is the same thing every day in working towards a bigger goal. So like did like frivolous things. Like I looked at like Pinterest, like I looked at style things, or I looked at what were, some designer, like stylists, local stylists doing, or I looked at magazines again, things like that. Or, sometimes I didn't do that. Sometimes I like went and gardened for 15 minutes. So even that could be like, you could have a bigger project of like, I want my garden to look a certain way, but you could work on it in 15-minute increments, right? So
Mhm.
one blueprint would be I have a bigger goal, and I'm working on it in 15-minute increments towards the bigger goal. Another blueprint would be like, I'm just going to find like bite size, ways to have fun, which might be like, I'm going to, yeah, like read this, like, I don't know, fun article that I've been wanting to read, or I'm going to call my friend for 15 minutes. Or I don't know, like, I'm going to get ice cream and spend 15 minutes like enjoying my ice cream outside or something. Like it could be really small things. Or it could be like small bites towards a larger goal. I'm
I
sure
love
there's
that.
another thing I'm not thinking about in there too.
I know. I mean, it's like we don't need so many
Yeah.
of us is like I need the blueprint, but like I think another part of having fun is like you don't necessarily need a blueprint. But if it's going to
Yeah. Or
get you
you,
there, then you can always build on it from that.
Yeah, or maybe your fun is like, I'm gonna do nothing for 15 minutes. Like,
Mhm.
I'm gonna go hide in my room and eat candy for 15 minutes. Like, it doesn't really matter.
That does sound fun.
I know,
I
right?
like for me, like I stopped reading somewhere during motherhood, and I recently, a number of years ago, picked it up again. And I do enjoy reading a lot, but like beachy reads, romance, like
Yeah,
just fun fiction.
fun, yeah.
Um, but and sometimes I was having a hard time like making the time to sit down and read, and I was feeling like pressure to get other things done. And so audiobooks, like I would always just have like self-help and improvement and productivity books that I would listen to as audiobooks, and Dr. Wayne Dyer, or like a Mel Robbins, or listen to
Mhm.
podcasts, which I still do and enjoy. But then I started like downloading these fun books
Yeah.
on like just audiobooks for fun. And then I found myself like, I'm like, maybe it wasn't doing like maybe I was emptying the dishwasher, but I felt like I was like, "Ooh, I get to listen to my book right now."
Mhm.
I was like,
Yeah,
it felt like exciting for me. So, I mean,
yeah,
like we can think outside the box as well
totally.
when it comes to getting started, and we can come back to that too because, yeah, I think just starting can be the most jarring part. But I
Yeah.
do want to talk about the R in PERMA because you spoke about relationships really briefly, but the idea of social connections has it's been coming up in recent episodes, and it has been on my mind. It is something that I'm trying to really be more intentional about. And so I've been going for lunch with like friends that I haven't seen in years, past colleagues. Like I've just really been trying to, since that event, like be more intentional with my social circle and the people that I do really care about. But sometimes it just can be hard to make those connections. And like you were saying, like there is research that continues to show that connection is a really strong predictor of our health and our happiness and our longevity, like you were saying. And so since that dance thing, I'm trying to do it more. So I mean, I think we can all think of reasons and excuses, but what do you think gets in the way of maintaining meaningful friendships and connections during, this stage of life? And do you have any advice for moving through it and kind of prioritizing that relationship part of PERMA?
Yeah, yeah, so kinda like you just said, right, there's all those typical, you know, I'd say they're reasons, like, they're not necessarily excuses, like, they're actually reasons, right? Like,
They're
life is busy.
valid for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're valid, right? Like, life does get busy, like, we have different schedules than our friends, they have different schedules than us. There might be a Sandwich Generation stuff going on. For sure, life is busy. So that like, let's just put that on the table, like, we're not dismissing that. At the same time, I think what, gets in the way of maintaining connections or, um, yeah, or growing them is that we don't make the decision to do that. So I think we have trouble moving from this like idea and intention, right? So you'll often like hear people say like, "Oh, like we should get together," right? Like, "Oh, we should have a
Hmm.
call or like we should have a FaceTime sometime soon." And then the other person be like, "Yeah, like we should do that," right? So it's well intentioned. Like I think both people want to do it, but it's kind of put out there like an idea or an intention, and then I think we have trouble moving from that idea or intention into a decision that like, okay, I am going to do this and this is what I'm going to do to make this happen, right? So you have to make the decision to do it. If we don't, and not making a decision to do it is basically the same as deciding not to do it. So you
Yeah.
have to, right? Like you have to make a decision to do it. And then you have to, yeah, try to find the time to do it. Doesn't mean it's easy. But if you're making the decision to do it, you'll make it happen. So like I've done this with one of my friends. I have like a standing walk every week at a same time, same day every week that we have a standing walk, and we've had to build that into our schedule. Like we made the decision to do it. It's in our schedule. Like it's literally in the calendar. And I try very, very hard to protect that time and not, fill it with something else. Like once in a while, sometimes like one of us has to put an appointment in that time or like her kids have track and field or something, right? Something happens, but we try very hard to just protect that time and do it. Or, you make the decision that I'm going to be texting with this friend and we're going to check in. This is going to be my friend that I text with every week. And we're going to just check in, like, how's your week going? It doesn't have to take a lot of time. right? To say, how's it going? Like, I'm kind of dying over here or whatever, right? So I think like a big part of it, aside from life being busy, is just that we have to just make the decision to do it and then find the time to do it.
You're right. Like the decision to have fun, the decision to text a friend, or the decision to actually like, we all say, yeah, we should get together sometime, but like to actually be like, okay, let's open up the calendar. Let's find a time, even if it's next month. Like, let's do that, which I think it can feel daunting
Yeah,
often, especially during busy seasons.
for sure.
But what I have found just through this little experiment of my own these last few months is that it is really, really gratifying and really rewarding. And the benefits of having that social connection, I mean, they outweigh like perhaps any inconvenience of like maybe rescheduling something or like rejigging or asking someone for help. Like it's just for me, it has been really, really rewarding. And it has been like a huge source of happiness and joy and fun for me. And even if that is just, like sending an audio note to a friend instead of like just texting them or sending them a meme, it's like, well, then they're going to
Yeah.
send me an audio note back. And, we haven't really gotten together, but at least it's like, okay, I'm making that connection. So it's been really fun for me, literally fun.
Yeah, and like you bring up a really important point that I think when like as you said, where it's daunting to kind of find the time, like make the decision and then find the time and then follow through on it. But in that state, we're more focused on like like the work of it, right? Like we're not focused on like why are we doing this? Like what's the benefit of the connection? What's the gain from that? And so as you just shared, like oh wow, like it's like really I'm really enjoying it. It's really bringing me happiness. I'm really finding it fun. And the same for me. So with my walk, like that's like a lifeline for me now. And my friend would say the same thing, right? Like if we miss it, we're like, ugh, right?
Hmm.
If we had to fit something else into it, like it's kind of a downer, right? It's like, oh, you're missing that boost of connection, support, like back to kind of meaning, like the M in PERMA, the R in PERMA. So there's something to be gained from it. Like try not to just focus on the tediousness of making the decision and fitting it in. Try to focus on why am I doing this? What's in it for me?
Yeah, and I think too, like once you have a little bit of evidence, if you go through the motions and maybe it feels like we're saying daunting, like then you do it and you're like, okay, it wasn't as hard as I thought, or that was really fun, or it was really worthwhile. Like you have that little bit of evidence built up, so then when you go to do it again, you're like, well, like it makes that sort of hump of the inconvenience or the challenge of it feel more worthwhile and more necessary, you know?
Exactly. And I think like I also just want to clarify, for people listening, like I'm not saying it's not hard, right? It doesn't mean these things aren't hard to do. But what I'm saying is like just because something's hard to do, it doesn't mean it's not doable and it doesn't mean it's not worth doing.
Right. Exactly. Now we're in the summer. We're in these beautiful summer months and, fun and summer are kind of like synonymous, right? Like, it's like school's out for
Hmm.
summer, like, it's like this time to like have the best time and like it's marketed as being carefree and such a joyful season. And so I think a lot of us assume like, well, it's just going to be happier. We will have more fun. But for many women, it's still filled with all the responsibility, sometimes like way more responsibility. If you have children who are, home for the summer or like you're planning your holidays or your camps or different schedules, you're still caring for everyone else around you. So, you know, on this topic and being in summer, it's like this double whammy. How can we approach this season differently so that we're not just creating the magical memories for everyone around us, feeling like the stress and the pressure of like, oh, we only get 18 summers with our kids. We better make it special for them. And we're running ourselves into the ground. How can we approach it differently with this sort of like, oh, but I get to have fun too. Like, what do I want to do? Any advice or tips for how we can enjoy our summer a little more this time around?
Yes, I think like what I'm going to say is maybe not the most popular opinion to what you just said there. But I'm going to say it anyway that, what I would love is to see women moving away from this idea of like that they need to make a magical summer for everyone, like that they need to
Hmm.
make these magical experiences for everyone. And like, why can't your kids just have experiences? And how do you know that like the experiences they will just have won't be magical to them, right? Like, why do we need to curate like what we think are going to be magical experiences for everybody? So when I think about like, my own childhood, it's like, what is a magical memory to me is actually like very basic, like going to the park and to that like cement, like painted blue pool in the
Yeah.
park. Like that's like actually a magical memory for me because it's just like simple, right? It's kind of like wholesome. It was like fun. Like I looked forward to that. Nobody curated that.
And it's
So like
free.
that's,
No one
and
had
it's
to
free
spend thousands of dollars
and
to
it's
take you to the park.
and it's easy, right? So like I guess just a thought like that we can't always know what are going to be like, magical memories for our kids. And we don't always need to curate them. And I think one way to approach summer differently, like if you are like a mom or a woman who feels like they have to kind of curate these magical experiences, why don't you try this summer trying not to do that? And let's just have experiences. Let's just assume there's probably going to be nice ones in there because the weather's nice. You'll probably do some nice things. You'll probably do some things you don't normally do. Right. And I bet your summer will be more enjoyable just from that, just from taking the pressure off of trying to make it magical. And then similarly, kind of even this idea of fun, like, having to have fun because it's summer and summer is synonymous with fun. I think that's like can feel a bit pressure too. Like even I think in one of the like the pre like preps that you sent me, there was a question about like fun or how do I have fun? And I was like, oh, like I feel pressure, right? Like, oh my God, like I don't know,
Ah.
is that fun? Would other people think that's fun? Do I have fun? And so maybe even taking the pressure off of this idea that we have to have fun, quote unquote, in the summer and thinking a little bit more about like what might be enjoyable, what might be pleasurable, what might be like low stress, what might, bring contentment. And if you have fun, bonus, like it's great, right? It's kind of like an add-on. Um, so, for people who don't find it super easy to have fun and feel a bit of pressure around that, maybe try to take the pressure off. And then I would also say, like, when again, like where there's this external focus on everyone and like kind of everybody having this nice summer, can we get away from that and can we also invite an internal focus on like what do we want to do this summer as women, what do we want our summer to look like? So last summer I made kind of like my own little summer bucket list of just like it doesn't have to be a lot, it's like on a post-it note, like what are some things that I want to kind of do this summer, and try to get to them when we're figuring out what to do. Sometimes I'd suggest something that I want to do. Sometimes I did it myself. But if you don't like have it in mind, like if you don't have in mind, what do I want to do? Back to like, what do I feel? What do I need? What do I want to do? It won't happen. So maybe even think about like intentionally jotting down what's your bucket list for the summer, your personal bucket list that you want to do separate from like, what do your kids want to do? And some of your bucket list might overlap with your kids or your family. That's okay. But maybe there's some things that are just for you.
I wanna do this. That sounds fun. Like, it does, it really
Yeah.
does. And I will say too, like, because, like you're saying, like, it can feel like added pressure, like, "Okay, now I have to have fun, better get into fun mode," and I can remember, especially when, my older children were younger and, like, feeling stress, like, when we have to get a nap in, and then we gotta go to the beach, and then, like and I can remember my husband just
Yeah.
being like, "Hey, like, like, can you have fun?" Like just like and it like really being feeling annoyed about it and like probably saying something snappy back, but like he was trying to encourage me to like, you know, take some of that pressure off. Um, trying to tell me don't get stressed out about everything. It's hard
Yeah.
when someone is telling you this, but
Yeah.
maybe if the prompt or the question of like, oh, what can I do to have fun, or how should I have fun, if that feels jarring, maybe it's just like kind of going back to what we were saying in the beginning with, it's like, okay, well, what do I need in this moment? It's like, is it
Yeah.
just to sit down with like a glass of water or a nice tea and just like take some breaths? Like maybe it's
Mhm.
not quote unquote fun, but like if that's going to help you kind of like feel good, feel okay, then maybe that's going to then spawn on something better. Like, what do I need in this moment? Maybe it's like, yeah, to have like a crazy dance party and like just bop around. But like maybe the prompt, if fun right now is like too loaded, it's like, can we change the question a little bit of like, okay, so like what would I love, what would feel good, what do I need in this moment, or what could I use a little bit more of, if that feels
Exactly.
better.
Yeah, and meet yourself where you're at, right? So it like the idea of having fun might also not sit well because maybe your nervous system is too worked up because you are like, still having to manage kids, or maybe you're like kind of like you said, doing more work because like kids are here, there, and everywhere. They're not just like at school. So maybe your nervous system is a little amped up, and then this idea of having fun feels like overload. Like you can't kind of be relaxed enough. Like to be relaxed, you kind of have to be to have fun for you. You kind of have to be in that receiving mode. Like you have to be relaxed enough to really enjoy it. And if your nervous system's not there, and it totally makes sense why it wouldn't be, right? If you're in the summer with kids and there's different things going on, you might just need, kind of like you said, to check in. Where am I at? What do I need? What might feel just like soothing? What might feel enjoyable? Maybe I do just need to sit down and have like a water or an iced tea and breathe. Maybe that is your pleasure that day. That's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So for the person listening, the woman who's like nodding her head, maybe I'm like, okay, realizing I've spent a long time taking care of everyone else. There's a lot of external things happening. I'm constantly doing things for other people. Maybe I've lost touch a little bit with what's genuinely bringing me joy. Like, where would you encourage us to begin? Or like, is there
Mhm.
one small step that we can take today or this week that will get us a little bit closer to experiencing a little bit more fun?
Yeah, like if you are kind of in that place that I was referring to before of like a bit of self-disconnect, right? Where it's like, yeah, you don't really know anymore what brings you joy or pleasure, then maybe start by thinking back to when was the last time that I experienced joy or pleasure? What was I doing? How old was I? Maybe you need little prompts, right? So maybe you could think back to even just like childhood pleasures. Maybe you can think back to, your teenage years, your young adult years, um, and think about what did you used to enjoy. For some people, that might be hard. Like if some people had a really difficult childhood or a really difficult, you know, upbringing, that might be hard. Like there might not be a lot of things that they found fun. So if there are things in your younger years that you had fun, maybe try to revisit them. Like let's say you were a teenager and you loved looking at magazines. Like I keep coming back to magazines because I enjoyed that. But go actually buy a real magazine. Like get away from this digital world and
Hmm.
see does that still spark joy for you? Or if you're somebody where it's like, oh, I didn't really have a lot of joy in my life, maybe, and I don't know still, maybe look at around you. Like, what do other people enjoy? Just as ideas. It doesn't mean that you enjoy it too. And see, does it resonate? Like, oh, okay, these people seem to get enjoyment out of, going for walks. Like, I don't know, maybe try it and see if you enjoy it. Maybe Google like what are generally things that people enjoy and see if anything resonates with you. Sometimes if you've really lost touch, you might need to try things a little bit to see and get a sense of like what feels okay to you, what doesn't. Or you might need to reconnect with things that did once bring you joy, even if they feel like they're a kid thing. Like let's say it's something from your childhood. That's okay. It might still spark joy in you.
I love that you keep bringing up the magazines because I have the best memories. Like it's like, okay, we're going on a like summer road trip. Better go buy my magazines, or like I just have great memories of like
Yeah.
the magazine part. Like yeah, just immediately makes me feel like content and relaxed, and like flipping through a magazine versus scrolling on a phone is just such a different experience. And
Yeah.
I certainly have gotten away from that. So that's I think like just you just like touched on something for me. And I keep coming back to the dancing thing, but I can remember going to see I have my boys, none of them are in dance, but I went to see my niece's recital, and I
Mm.
was a dancer growing up, and it just brought
Oh,
back these
cool.
memories for me of just like having the most fun. So I mean, naturally, to go to a dance evening where it's just all women, and like that was just like sparked so much joy for me. So I think what you're saying of think back to like the last time you had fun or experiences that you had before were really joyful. And then the last thing I'll say on that is sometimes we do need to be held accountable, especially in the beginning. So, like, if it is signing up for something, even if it's like a free like club or free event or, something with someone else where you're like, well, you and your friend, for instance, like, well, you want to make sure that you show up for her, and she wants to make sure that she's showing up for you. And so it's like,
Hmm.
oftentimes like we might feel like a little sluggish or tired or oh whatever, I don't need to do that today. But if you're being held accountable in some way, like the launch program you took, then sometimes it makes it a little bit easier to start and get over that little hump of not doing anything and moving into action. Anything else that you
Exactly.
can say on that point of accountability?
Yeah, like back to the launch piece. So I think I alluded to earlier on that, Mel kept saying it doesn't really matter what you choose as your project, right? And we didn't really understand that for a long time. And then kind of like the culmination of the course was that like it didn't matter what you chose for your project because the project was always you. So meaning
Mm,
that the project was to see that you can make a commitment to yourself and stick to it. And that when you do that, you move forward in the way that you want to, right? That
mm,
you can make a commitment to have fun 15 minutes a day. And when you stick to that commitment that you've made to yourself, you start to have fun. You start to
yeah.
feel more energized and you start to feel happier. It was that course like significantly changed my life. And so that accountability that you're talking about is basically what was at, I think, the foundation of launch in the sense of we're going to show you that like when you're guided like with our support to like make a commitment to yourself every day but you're the one doing it, you will do it and you will shift in the direction that you want to go, whether it's more connection, whether it's more fun, whether it is like some kind of work goal. It doesn't really matter, but it's the commitment to yourself that is the point.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, Dr. Laderoute, are we ready for a rapid fire? I like to close
Okay.
out sometimes with quick
Yeah.
questions and no pressure, just whatever comes to
Okay.
mind.
Yeah. I don't think I
Okay.
had that last time. Okay.
I know. Okay, and I mean, it doesn't have to be anything, but I love the rapid fire because when I listen to other podcasts and they do like a rapid fire, I'm like
Hmm.
always like, oh,
It's
what's
fun.
going to come
Yeah.
up? It is fun.
It's
It is
totally
fun.
fun. Mhm.
So on this topic, then, what is one surprisingly powerful way to add more fun into a busy week? Any ideas?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's like surprising or powerful anymore anyway. Sorry, anymore now that we've talked about it, but like just schedule it. Schedule it in. Like just like how sex therapists talk about like scheduling and sex. Like sometimes you have to do that. Like
Yeah,
schedule in the fun, pick something and schedule it in there and do it.
love that. A childhood activity that more adults should revisit.
Oh, like I think swinging on swings.
Yes.
Swinging on swings. I recently did that and realized that my kids had no idea how to actually swing.
Oh,
So so taught them and they had a great time. And also like, running through the sprinkler. I think that used to be fun.
totally. Um, Again, no pressure, but what is a favorite way that you like to have fun?
Yeah, that's the one that I was like, oh, I feel pressure about the fun. Um, yeah, no, I think one of the ways I love to have fun is actually trying to find the humor in things and just like laughing with my partner or friends. I really love that when you can kind of connect over laughter and just like not taking everything so seriously and finding the humor in things.
Yeah, my husband would say I need to work on that a little bit more. Okay, so maybe this is kind of like a trick because what it would be something that adults might think is fun, but actually isn't really restorative or fun.
Yeah, this one is tricky. Like what comes to my mind is like drinking. But like I don't
Mm,
want to, be a downer on that because like yeah, sometimes it's nice to have a drink or two, whatever. But just generally speaking, if we're speaking about like midlife women, like it gets tricky, right? It's kind of like it feels nice in the moment and then like it kind of creates sleep problems. It can kind of be like a mood downer. So I think like drinking is a tricky one.
yeah, I agree. And last question, what is one thing you wish more women understood about fun, joy, and feeling that sense of being fully alive?
Like that it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be complicated. Like it can be simple. You can go out like dancing or you can do something really simple. Like it depends what resonates with you, right? You can find pleasure in very, very small ways that are unique to you and that are accessible and doable. And it just doesn't have to be complicated.
Love that. Love that. Well, thank you so much for coming back to the Juggle is Real. Thank you for
Thanks for
reaching
having me.
out. I mean, this conversation was fun for me. Like things like this,
Me
having
too.
chatting with you, this does fill my tank. So I really, really appreciate it. And I hope we can do it again sometime
Me
soon.
too. Thank you so much. I had a great time too. Thanks for having me.
A huge thank you to Dr. Kristine Laderoute for joining us for just such a thoughtful and important conversation. I would say one of my biggest takeaways from our chat is that fun isn't frivolous. It's not something that we have to earn after we've finished every single other thing on our list, because the to-do list never ends. And it's not a reward for being productive enough, but it's actually part of what helps us be well and feel well. And I really also love the reminder that fun doesn't have to mean like, girls' weekend or a concert or something expensive or a week away. And sometimes it can be 15 intentional minutes, having that walk with a friend, dancing in the kitchen, trying something new, revisiting something that you used to love, and just really giving yourself that permission to do something simply because you enjoy it and it's fun. Another message that really stayed with me is that so many of us have become incredibly skilled at being responsible. We are so good at being responsible. We take care of the people we love and we manage countless moving pieces. We carry an enormous amount of invisible labor. But somewhere along the way, there's so many of us who have stopped asking ourselves what feels fun or what feels meaningful or what is energizing to us. So if today's conversation resonated with you, if you are eager to kind of reignite that spark of joy, I'd encourage you to spend a few minutes thinking about that question. What is one small thing that is fun and that can spark joy for you? And what would it look like to make a little more room for this week? Why today? Why wait? So if you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to subscribe to the podcast, leave a rating or review, share this with a friend, someone who could use the reminder as well. And if you do add a little more fun, playfulness, spark more connection into your life this week, I would truly love to hear about it. So please send me a message on Instagram. You can find me at Andryanna G, or share this message, screen cap it, put it in your stories, tag me, tell me what resonated the most. I often give the Juggle is Real Authentic Self-Care Planners to those who are chatting with me. I appreciate it so much. And until the next time, take good care of yourself and remember the juggle is real, but so is joy. Take good care.